What is up, guys? This is Zach with Top Deck Nation, coming at you today with another deck profile video, kicking off the new Primal Clash through Evolution's standard format of 2016-2017. So if you missed our last video, no worries. I realize it has been a few weeks since I've made a video, so I do apologize, but I've just been kind of busy with school and still unpacking the new house and things like that, so it's been really busy lately. But hopefully I can push out more videos. The goal is to really push out about 3 a week, maybe a deck profile, maybe a discussion video, which is kind of like in the middle of like a video and a podcast. And you guys have really been liking that. So, thanks for the feedback and support on that. And maybe another video as well, maybe like a live commentary match. But today we're going to be kicking off with a brand new deck. And if you were at, Fort Wayne Regionals in Indiana this past weekend, you probably saw it. It made top 64. I want to say it made top 16th, like 10th or 11th or 12th place or something. But yeah, it was kind of like a sleeper deck. And, while it didn't ultimately win, it didn't make top 8, it is still nonetheless a really interesting deck. And I think you might see it in the future because it's pretty good. It's fast, it's consistent, and, it just kind of works. It's pretty easy to set up. So that is going to be Pidgeot-EX. And if you don't know what Pidgeot-EX does, I don't blame you because, a lot of the cards in Evolutions are pretty bad. Let's be honest here. That was really more of a fan service kind of set, and it was pretty awesome. It's basically, in many ways, a base set reprint. Lots of good cards in there. Your classic Charizard, Blastoise, well, maybe not Blastoise, but just lots of cool things like that. But we are going to be looking at Pidgeot today. And what I like about Pidgeot, both of its attacks are really interesting here. So for 1 energy, we have the Mirror move, and it says if it was damaged by an attack during your opponent's last turn, it does the same amount of damage. So right away, I can already see some applications here. If they hit me for 160, 170, I've got a Fighting Fury Belt and survive. Well, I just attach an energy and do 170 back. So that is really strong, especially, when I can attach an energy and just Lysandre up a Shaymin and knock it out. And the other attack is actually pretty good as well. It does 80 damage and then 20 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So, with a Fighting Fury Belt, you're looking at doing 90 damage and 20 on the bench. And that's pretty easy to set up, double colorless energy and an energy, and there you go. Second turn, you can go ahead, do 110 damage essentially on the board. It's really good. And I love that Pidgeot is colorless because that means you can really, make it really versatile. I've seen some builds that have like Jolteon and Glaceon and Ninja Boy even, which is pretty cool. I've also seen another build where we have, Metal Energy and Magearna, and I'll be showing you that build. But, because it's colorless, because it sets up so quickly, I think the best partner here is going to be Garbodor. Garbodor is, really a force to be reckoned with. It's just kind of devastating. Evoltol Garbodor, I should say. It's won 3 regionals so far, and that is ridiculous. You can just tell without, any form of tool removal, we don't have Tool Scrapper or Megaphone or even Xerosic. You think they would, at least leave that in the format. It's really hard to beat these Garbodor decks. You have Beedrill, which I've talked about in the last discussion video, so check it out. You have Rattata, but that's an ability, so Garbodor shuts it off, so what do you really do? And again, Garbotoxin is shutting off any abilities in play, including your own, but it's really going to be affecting your opponent because it's going to stop them from using Shaymin, from using Hoopa, from using Volcanion, Greninja Break. A lot of decks that you can consider, top tier or semi-top tier, they just kind of fall to Garbodor. So, definitely a really good partner in here. Of course, we're going to play 2 Shaymin just to kind of get set up, as well as a Hoopa, because it's going to let us get out Pidgeots and Shaymin really quickly. And then the other partner, like I said, I'm playing Metal Energy in here because we can use Magearna. So Mystic Heart is a really useful ability. There's not really a lot of effect attacks anymore. Trevenant Break was probably the biggest one. And of course, like status conditions. So, like Froakie, Froakie's bubble attack, I guess if you go against Greninja, that will kind of help you against that. But we play it because of Soul Blaster. It's doing a clean 120 damage, so it's essentially one-shotting a lot of Pokemon. With a Fighting Fury Belt, that means it does 130, so that's enough to knock out the baby Mewtwo from Evolutions, as well as the baby Volcanion. And I'm pretty sure it even knocks out a Greninja, the Stage 2 Greninja. Unfortunately, the base damage becomes 60 the following turn, but that's not so much a big deal. Another reason is because it knocks out Gardevoir, and Gardevoir has become a really big deck. It's definitely probably a top 3, top 5 deck. It's really good. So you need a way to combat that, and that's why we play this. And as you'll see, this deck counters a lot of decks here. So let's go ahead and see what else is in here. I was lucky enough to get one of these promos. Somebody was gracious enough to give me one, so I really appreciate that. But this is the Magearna that just came out in the Battle Heart Tins, I think they're called. I think you also got a Volcanion promo. But Magearna, the second attack here, Prismatic Wave, it's really a hard counter to really any kind of deck that plays a ton of types, so Rainbow Road in particular. And it's just a good 7th prize attacker. It's always good to have that, so it really offsets the prize count. And Prismatic Wave does 20 times the number of different types your opponent has. So Rainbow Road is going to go down. Most players probably have 3-4 types on their bench. Hoopa, Shaymin, a couple of different attackers. So, Magearna is pretty good. It might do 80-90 damage, but also really good against things like Gardevoir again. So the main strategy of the deck here, guys, is going to be using Mirror Move. And, normally you might think to yourself, well, what good is Mirror Move if you're going to get knocked out the following turn? And, that's a valid point, which is why we play 4 Max Potion. Basically we can heal off all the damage every turn and just use Mirror Move. So, if they can't hit me for 210 damage, they're really going to struggle just to knock me out. And with Garbodor in play, a lot of cards are going to be struggling big time, like Greninja and Volcanion, stuff like that. They're not going to be able to get those knockouts. So let's go ahead and go through the rest of the deck here. As far as supporters go, we have Professor Sycamore, 4 of. It's definitely the best supporter in the game, just drawing a clean 7 cards, getting rid of stuff we don't need. We play 3 in. I'm glad we can actually fit the room to play that 3rd in because it does make a difference. Consistency is key, and even those 1 to 2 cards that you play that your opponent does not, they can make a huge difference. We're going to be playing 2 Lysandre. Lysandre is really good in here because of the math. Because Pidgeot's doing 90 and 20 with that Fighting Fury belt. Let's say you Lysandre up a Shaymin and you damage another Shaymin on the bench. Your next turn, assuming you can Lysandre again, you can take 4 prizes. And we're going to see that in one of the games I played earlier today. So really good. We're going to play a Pokemon Ranger just because we play Special Energy. So things against things like Giratina won't be as much of a threat, as well as things like Jolteon, because we only play basic Pokemon, I believe. And then lastly, we play an Olympia. And I've been playing Olympia for a while now. Olympia is really good. It can kind of offset the math. It provides a switch card, but more or less it's there for that Fright Night Yveltal. So that is a huge threat because it's really scary. You can get stuck in the active position. Your float stones don't work, and suddenly your opponent can just kind of wreak havoc. And a lot of these Yveltal decks are playing it, if not 2 or 3 of them. So really important that we have an out. So if you don't play this, consider playing like Escape Rope, Switch, etc. Probably Escape Rope, just because it would push that Yveltal out of the active spot. Let's see what else we have. As far as our items go, pretty standard. We've got 4 VS Seeker to get our supporters back. We have 4 Ultra Ball to get our Pokemon out. I'm playing 4 Trainers Mail just for consistency's sake, because we are playing almost 40 trainer cards. So nearly 2/3 of your deck here is going to be trainer cards. So you do want to get that out as quick as possible. Use your trainers, etc. As far as, let's see. Yeah, we play 4 Fighting Fury Belt. Now, this seems kind of unconventional, but you have to keep in mind the first couple turns, I want a Fighting Fury Belt on Pidgeot as soon as possible, so they have to deal that 210 damage to knock me out. 3 Float Stone is good just to kind of retreat. We play Garbodor, of course, and I've already gone over the Max Potion, so I think that pretty much covers the items. 1 Super Rod just to kind of get our resources back. And lastly, for the stadiums, I love that this deck doesn't play a lot of Pokemon, doesn't play a lot of energy, so we can squeeze so much consistency and so many tech cards and stuff. So I'm playing 4 stadiums in here. First of all, we're going to be playing 2 Parallel City. Parallel City is just an amazing stadium here. And if you're not playing it, chances are your opponent is, which is why I have to play a counter stadium to that. But Parallel City really helps you win matchups like Mega Gardevoir and Mega Rayquaza, anything that can use Skyfield. Raichu. Normally Raichu could probably just plow through this deck with Skyfield, so Parallel City keeps it in check. But yeah, Parallel City is really good. And on the flip side, you have the other effect that reduces damage. So that could be good against Vespiquen or Volcanion or even Greninja. And then lastly, we play Faded Town because the math makes it work out. So, we should be able to easily knock out things like Mega Scizor and Mega Mewtwo. So normally doing 90 damage, that's really 3-shotting a Mega, is it not? So Faded Town makes that 2-shotting a Mega. So things like Mega Rayquaza, anything really with like 220 HP should fall to Faded Town. If they have a little more, it could be kind of tricky, especially if they replace that stadium. But, all in all, I think it's a really good choice here. So again, I really like this deck a whole lot. I'm definitely going to be testing it some more. Again, this is just kind of a sample list, so tweak it to your liking, guys. But let's go ahead and jump into a game I played on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online and see this deck in action. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and start here. Looks like our opponent is GCM Jonathan, and I did mulligan. I started with a Garbodor, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put Magearna up, so not the worst start in the world. And I'm curious to see what my opponent is playing here. I think they're going first. I'm not... Okay, it looks like we're going first. And I see a Mega Rayquaza and a Manaphy. So looks like this is probably going to be a Mega Rayquaza deck. A lot of times they play like Glaceon or Jolteon or Manaphy. Manaphy's pretty good because it actually gives you free retreat. So that's always good. And I'm going to go ahead and grab Hoopa. And it looks like a pretty good start so far. I mean, I may have to discard Max Potion or something, but I have a supporter. I can get, my Pidgeots and my Shaymin. So this is a pretty good start. I just need an Energy, a Fighting Fury Belt, and I will be good to go. And that's one of the good things about this deck. I mean, once you have an Energy, a Fighting Fury Belt, I mean, you're pretty much set. You can at least Mirror Move. If we get Garbodor out, that's even better, especially against Rayquaza. If we use Parallel City and Garbodor, I mean, it's pretty much, I don't want to say like an auto win, but it kind of goes in your favor eventually. Unless they can consistently knock out Garbodor, going to 3 Pokemon from like 8, I mean, that's huge, especially, you can't use Dragonite to get anything back because Dragonite's, I forgot what the ability is called. Yeah, it's not Bustin', I'm not really sure what it's called, but it's an ability, so Garbodor is going to be shutting that off. So Parallel City comes down. I'm just trying to add some pressure to my opponent, make him play down a Skyfield if he has it. And yeah, I could go for the Garbodor, I guess. Faded Town, like I said, it's really good against Megas. So we're going to have to, possibly get that out. But it looks like I may actually have to discard something, because I really need to get Garbodor out. So I think that's like the 3rd Max Potion I'm actually going to have to discard. So Trubbish is going to come down. That's really important. But the downside is that I'm probably going to be losing, that Faded Town and Max Potion here. So I'm going to leave Magearna active more than likely just because I don't want Pidgeot to have to, get knocked out. This is going to be a turn... really explosive turn for our opponent here. If he can get 7 Pokemon out, he can actually knock out Pidgeot, and then Mirror Move becomes kind of useless. I'd rather wait until, Parallel City really damages him or Garbodor's out or something like that. So we see a DCE. Now, if he can get Mega Rayquaza out and Mega Turbo, we may see a knockout. I mean, I think he needs like 6 Pokemon. Magearna's got 160 HP, so he would need 6 Pokemon on his bench, and he needs to get a Skyfield as well. This is a pretty good sign. He uses Pokemon Fan Club, which you don't really see often. I've actually seen like Winona played in these Mega Rayquaza decks, but that was, at the very, very beginning when Winona came out in Roaring Skies, I think. So really odd to see a Fan Club. Usually they just play Ultra Ball to get the Hoopa, etc. So Fan Club might get him out the Hoopa and Shaymin, I guess. But, like I said, the board is pretty good on my end. I've got everything I need out here. Hopefully that Trainers Mail will get me a supporter, like an N or a Professor Sycamore or something. If he plays Skyfield, I guess if I get an Ultra Ball, that's not the worst thing in the world. I could Shaymin, but I really don't want to have to play another Shaymin down. I think I'm pretty much good to go. And interesting, he's going to get Magearna-EX and Mewtwo. He's not actually going to get the Hoopa and Shaymin. And it might be because he knows that they're kind of useless right now. Shaymin will draw him a couple cards, but that's about it. So, what is he going to do here? Is he going to Mega Evolve? He's going to attach a Spirit Link and Mega Turbo. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and use that ancient trait, and he's going to go ahead and evolve and pass. So there's a Trainer's Mail, and we don't get a supporter, so that is not good. I think I'll have to grab Lysandre just for the heck of it, but that's really not good. At least I can attack here, but I'm really reluctant to attack because I would have to put Faded Town down to get a 2-shot. And the only problem with that is if I put Faded Town down, then suddenly, if he happens to get Hoopa, if he happens to get Shaymin or something, I might be in a lot of trouble because Parallel City won't be in play anymore. But, I think it's something I just have to do. I have to put pressure on him. And maybe this... maybe this was a misplay on my part. Maybe I should have brought out, Magearna or Manaphy with the Lysandre. I'm not really sure. But, this is pretty much what I have to do, I think. I have to start putting pressure on my opponent and 2-shotting this Mega Rayquaza here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put down Faded Town. And I think I just have to attack. The question is where to put that damage. But I think Manaphy would probably be the best bet here. I doubt he's going to ever attack with Magearna. Mewtwo's okay, but I think Manaphy is the best target here because I can probably set up like a double knockout with a Shaymin later in the game. And I'm just kind of checking their HP. If Mewtwo is like 110, it might be a different story. But I'm going to go for the Manaphy because I think it'll set up a nice clean knockout later on. So he's at 110, so that's really good. The second turn doing 110 to the active and 20 to the bench. That's pretty darn good. And I've got 210 HP, and since tool removal is not a thing, I'm really taking advantage of that. I can get Garbodor out, and, my Float Stones are going to be safe. But more importantly, Fighting Fury Belt isn't going anywhere. So, it's really kind of busted if you think about it. 210 HP... basic Pokemon, why even play a Mega when you can just do that? So yeah, like I said, we're going to see that Ultra Ball finally come down, and he's going to be able to take advantage of it because Faded Town is out. So this is going to kind of stink on our end because he's going to be able to get set up really good. And, if he gets the right card, there's a Hoopa, he's going to get Shaymin. If he can get a Skyfield, it's going to be really explosive. He might even knock out this Pidgeot, possibly. So he's already doing 120 damage. He's going to need to do 210. Had Pidgeot had 180 HP, the deck would be just so much better. That 10 HP matters because, he would need 8 Pokemon to knock me out at that point, and I don't see that ever happening. So, okay, there's a Rainbow Energy. Interesting. I guess he does that to be able to play Magearna and Manaphy, so that's pretty cool. The only downside to that is that it kind of damages yourself as well, so it might skew the math a little bit to your disadvantage. But there's Shaymin. I have no doubt that he's got Skyfield because I'm sure, most Mega Rayquaza decks play 4, maybe 3, but, definitely 4. Most of the decks I've seen play 4. And, why wouldn't you, of course, because you get that explosive turn 1, take the knockout. I mean, that's definitely worth it. And we're going to see an N, so this is going to help us out a lot. So he has everything he needs, but can he get the knockout is the question. Because if he can't get the knockout, I can just mirror move and knock out Rayquaza and be in a really good board state myself again. But the hand I got is actually pretty good. I can go ahead and Ultra Ball, get Garbodor. I've got plenty of energy, so I can start powering up something else, as well as a Fighting Fury Belt. So yeah, I've got a ton of options here. I've got Shaymin, I've got a Verse Seeker to get a Professor Sycamore. So is he able to get 2 more Pokemon out? If he's not, we're going to probably be able to knock out something. If not, just, really damage something here. Unfortunately, both of my Faded Town are gone now. I really kind of regret. It might have been a misplay on my part to just go ahead and discard both. I'll show you my discard in a minute, but I think I've discarded just so much stuff already. I've discarded 3 Max Potion, 2 Faded Town, I think like 2 or 3 Sycamore. So, I mean, this is kind of bad in that regard, but I think we're a lot more set up than our opponent here. So we get a Float Stone, so that's perfect. I didn't want to have to put the Fighting Fury Belt on Garbodor, but now I can just go ahead and use the Float Stone. So I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball and probably get Garbodor out, and that's going to hurt my opponent a lot. And the big question is going to be, what am I going to Ultra Ball away? Because I need Fighting Fury Belt on my Pidgeots. But at the same time, you know, Shaymin would be really good to get out as well. So I don't really know which one to discard. The Metal Energy's fine. You know, I've got plenty of Metal Energy in the deck. I think I've got 2 or 3 more. I've got Super Rod. So that's not really a concern. Energy's fine. So I'm thinking either the Shaymin or the Fighting Fury Belt. And I know it seems kind of silly to get rid of the Shaymin, but I don't really need it. You know, I'm fine. You know, if I get a Parallel City or something and use it on myself, for whatever reason, I could get rid of Shaymin and Hoopa. But I think this is the better play. I can just go ahead and get a Sycamore and get a clean 7 cards and hopefully get what I need here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and use Sycamore. And, you know, keep in mind, I do play the Magearna promo, which is a non-EX. So against this deck, that's pretty good because let's see, 1, 2, 3. So right now he's just doing 60, but with Magearna, he would be doing 80, I believe, on the bench if Magearna ever retreats. So that Magearna promo might come in handy. You never know, as a good 7th prize attacker. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put pressure on my opponent here. Let's put 90 on Magearna and 20 on the Magearna. So I think Magearna is at 140 now, so he's in the perfect range to get that knockout. And that's what I'm saying, you know, doing 90 and then 20 of the bench, you can set up these really nice, clean knockouts and possibly even get 4 prizes. So the math works out really, really well here. And he's going to have to attach to Magearna, and that's probably not good. He's going to have to manually retreat. Normally, Manaphy would be able to let him retreat for free with that Aqua Tube ability, but not in this case. You know, Garbodor is active. You know, his Garbotoxin is in play now, so it's going to make it a lot tougher on my opponent to retreat and things like that. So I think he should be able to get 7 Pokemon out here. He's got a 5-card hand. There comes the Ultra Ball, so there's 1 Pokemon and maybe a supporter as well. All right, so we see him discard a Professor Sycamore and a Skyla. And there comes Hoopa, so he won't be able to use Scoundrel Ring because of Garbodor. But he needs 1 more Pokemon, and he can take that nice knockout for 210 damage. That's pretty good. We see a special charge, so there go the DCE back in the deck, or in this case, the Rainbow, so I didn't really think of that. That's pretty clever. So is he able to get a knockout at this point? He needs, what, 2 more Pokemon, I think? Okay, so down comes Hoopa. Does he have another supporter? An N, a Sycamore? Okay, so there we go. He has the Sycamore for 7, so perfect. And, surely he has a Pokemon out here right now. So there's an Ultra Ball. So yeah, he's going to be getting the knockout, assuming nothing else is prized. But, usually these Mega Rayquaza decks, they play upwards of, 4 Shaymin and 2 Hoopa and stuff like that. So he's going to be getting that knockout for sure. So I have to really think what my plan is. I need a DCE preferably, but this is also where that Magearna promo can come in, because if you look on his bench, he's got a Water, a Metal, a Psychic, and a Colorless type. So 20 times 4, Magearna is going to be doing 80 damage, and that's a nice knockout on this Mega Rayquaza. So that is one option, or I can just start attacking again with Pidgeot, because nothing on his bench really has energy. So I'm guessing he doesn't even play Mega Turbo because he plays Rainbow Energy. So while it is a really good utility card to be able to use Rainbow Energy, the only downside is that you can't play Mega Turbo because it's not a basic energy. So Fighting Fury Belt's going to come down, and I'm probably going to end him down to 4 in this case. I could use Super Rod to get energy back in the deck, but I don't really need to. I'm trying to draw the Magearna or the DCE. So there we go. We're going to play the N. Our chances are decent, and there we go. We get 2 DCE and the Magearna, so really good, as well as an N and a Max Potion. So we're going to be able to take a knockout. I'm going to put down the Magearna so he can't N it away. And yeah, we're going to be able to get a knockout here. And the question now is, where do we put that 20 damage? Should we put it on a Rayquaza to kind of set up like before, because that did, it did work out? Or should we put it on like a Shaymin and try to set up like a really like a double knockout or something? And I think I'm going to go for the Mega Rayquaza, because once you get those out of the way, the deck is just going to kind of lose regardless. So I'll just do that, take 2 prizes. Sounds pretty good to me. And we get a Via Seeker and a Sycamore. So yeah, we're in really good shape here. We're down to like 10 cards in our deck. So the deck has been just, burning through itself. But I think because it's been so aggressive, it's been able to keep up with this equally aggressive deck that is Mega Rayquaza. All right, so he brings up Hoopa. That's not a good sign. That usually means that he doesn't really have much. I haven't seen a Float Stone, so he may not play Float Stone. Maybe he opts to play like Olympia and then the Rainbow Energy. That might be one option. So what is he going to do here? Does he have anything at all? Like, surely he has a supporter. Oh, a Pokemon catcher. That's interesting. So can he get a heads? And no, he gets a tails. So I haven't seen Pokemon catcher played in a long time. I think back in like, like February, March, April, in that time frame, people were, kind of experimenting, putting it in Night March, because even just playing a couple of them, you've got Puzzle of Time to reuse those, and taking those really cheap knockouts was really good in Night March. It was pretty good, but not in Mega Rayquaza. I've never seen that before, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, Mega Rayquaza is really aggressive, but you would think that the deck just is so tight without it already. Okay, so I'm in really good shape here, and I think I know what I want to do here. I think I can set up a double knockout. If I can get rid of the Shaymin and the Manaphy, because I don't think he has much in his hand. If I Lysandre the Shaymin or the Manaphy, I can really set up an interesting knockout. Now, I may not want to bring up the Shaymin, because if he attaches a DCE, he can just kind of return it to his hand. So maybe the Manaphy, and this is where that 20 damage from before, in the first couple turns, this is where it comes in handy. This is where it really kind of shows you that you have to be really methodical about where you place this damage, because later in the game, it really does matter. So I think I'll probably go for the Feather Lance. And I really have to be careful about clicking here, because, not going to lie, I tried to record a few matches before, and it really messed up. It really backfired on my end, because I was... maybe it's because I haven't played PTCGO in a while or something, but I was like using Parallel City and getting rid of Trubbishes, and it was really bad. So I practiced a few games, and hopefully it's turning out a little better. But anyway, in this case, I just need an energy. He brought up Shaymin, which was pretty smart, but I need an energy or a Float Stone or something next turn. So I'm going to use Super Rod. And if I get an energy, I can retreat, I can Lysandre up Shaymin, and I can take a double knockout on Shaymin and Manaphy. So here's the hoping to that. I think like half my deck now is energy, so the chances are pretty good. But it really depends what he has here. If he retreats out, that might kind of mess up my math as well. He's going to attach to Rayquaza, so I don't think Manaphy's going anywhere. He's just going to give it up. But it really depends if I have an energy. I mean, I can Verse Seeker and use Olympia, but I'd rather not do that, because it's not really taking a double knockout. So I'd rather sit here and wait with the Lysandre in my hand. So if he passes, we're going to have a good chance to win next turn. So what is he going to do here? All right, he passes. And oh yeah, we get a Metal Energy. So I'm checking to make sure I've got Lysandre. Let's go ahead and retreat Shaymin, it looks like. Let's go ahead and bring up that Shaymin that's already damaged. And then, like I said, the math is perfect. We're going to go ahead and retreat out to Pidgeot, again, making sure I don't misclick. And let's go ahead and Feather Lance for the double knockout. So there we go. And like I said, this is what Pidgeot does. Anytime you snipe, it's just like the Mega Oddno deck that won at Nationals. Anytime you snipe, you're really setting up knockouts, double knockouts, triple knockouts, 2-3 prizes, even 4 prizes in this case. So there we go, guys. But like I said, Pidgeot Garbodor is a really interesting deck. I like it a lot. Not a lot of lightning types in this format, so it can kind of thrive possibly. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe, of course. There's a subscribe button there. Like the video if you liked it. it. Be sure to comment, tell me what kind of content you guys want to see because I'm interested, and then follow us on Facebook at Top Deck Nation as well as Instagram for a lot of updates, deck ideas, things like that. But in the meantime, this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.